Hello, my name is Andrew Beckton, and I'm an 8th grade teacher at Palestine ISD, and today we are going to be discussing finance and budget, equity, equality, and adequacy in the modern school. Our main source that we're drawing from is from the book Mind the Gap, written by Dr. Bruce Baker, Danielle Faree, and David Shiraz. So we're going to be discussing some of the terminology used in this book by the authors and sort of their opinions on the terms that we are discussing. To begin, when we think about fairness in education, equality would usually mean that everyone gets the same amount of funding. But the author points out that this isn't enough because students in schools don't all face the same challenges. And that's where we bring in the word equity, because on the other hand, equity means giving schools the resources that they actually need to meet student needs. And that could mean smaller class sizes, more teachers, or additional programs in high poverty areas. So I agree with this because equal dollars doesn't always create equal opportunities. Now, in regards to adequacy, the author defines adequacy as making sure that all students can reach a minimum outcome standard. For example, being college ready or career ready. And this kind of shifts the focus from just equal inputs to actual results. And it comes from cases like Rose versus the Council for Better Education, where the courts actually said that students have a right to a constitutionally adequate education. And again, this has a really big focus on the outcomes. And really, the priority is making sure that we have graduates who are college ready. And so I do agree with this definition because it connects school funding directly to real student success, and it's just not about how the money is spent. Again, why do I agree with this? Well, overall, I agree with the author's framework because it's both fair and hopefully it's realistic. I know that we can kind of have the argument about, is it really feasible? But again, at the end of the day, equity ensures that students with greater needs get the support that they deserve. Equality alone falls short since the same resources don't create the same opportunities. And of course, adequacy is crucial because it focuses on the outcomes that matter. Again, like we mentioned earlier, like readiness for college or, work or life in general. So together, these ideas make school funding more student-centered and outcome-focused, which is exactly what our education system needs. Now, where does Texas fall in all of this? So far, we've looked at the author's definitions of equality, equity, and adequacy. These ideas, they're not just theory, they're actually shaping today's school funding debates in Texas. Um, so when lawmakers discuss pensions or property taxes or school finance formulas, they're really debating those same three elements of equality, equity, and adequacy. So again, equality. Texas often struggles with this because funding still varies widely based on local property wealth. And so that's where we have recapture and tax compression laws um, that are kind of attempting to equalize dollars, but then the outcomes are not always even. So, for example, if a district generates more property tax revenue per student than the state allows, then it must send the excess to the state for redistribution. That's where we have kind of the Robin Hood law terminology. And of course, you can imagine how that kind of plays out in terms of people's opinions on that. Moving on to equity, of course, we have the TRS costs, health care that comes from TRS care, and of course, inflation and high poverty areas or districts, it kind of hits them a little bit harder. So unless the state provides additional funding, those schools can't provide the same real resources. For example, smaller classes or competitive pay for their teachers. And then this, of course, leads to adequacy. And the big question is, are state funds like um, House Bill 2 actually enough to guarantee an adequate education? So districts are facing deficits and rising costs, and they usually say no because these earmarked funds, they don't cover all the needs like special ed or safety or insurance. So we do have a ways to go in the state of Texas. Hopefully, legislation is going to come up with some really good hard numbers and solutions for that in the near future, and they're working on it. So hopefully, we will see an improvement in these areas. That's all the time I have, and thank you so much for listening, and thank you.